All righty. There we go. Let me make sure the recording is going. Okay, it looks
Mhm.
like it. So, alrighty. Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry about our little delay today, but we have a wonderful guest. We're supposed to have one more. Hopefully, we're having some technical difficulties, but hopefully, maybe throughout the Tiger Talk, we'll have a few other people joining us. But right now, it'll just be me and Emily. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Cade Forbes. I am the coordinator for Parent and Family Services, and then I'll let Emily introduce herself as well.
Hey there, I'm Emily Stovall. I am the coordinator of financial aid and scholarship outreach here at the University of Memphis.
Perfect. And could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, maybe like your time at the U of M and anything else you want to share with us today?
Sure. So I've been with the U of M. I've been on staff with the U of M for just over 2 years now. I started in the admissions office. So I was in high schools doing some recruiting and then made my way to the financial aid and scholarship office about this time last year. So I'm an alumni of the University of Memphis, class of 2015. Go Tigers. So I'm happy to be back in a professional capacity.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you for that. And then I guess without any further ado, we will go ahead and get started. If I could go on, there we go to the next slide. Looks like Heather might have joined us, but we'll still go on and get started, and then we'll, go from there whenever everything is working. So, our first question. So, obviously, today is all about financial aid, the FAFSA, all that kind of cool stuff. So, our first question that we got submitted was what changes can we expect in this new FAFSA?
Yeah, so from last year to this year, not a whole lot has changed, which is great. But because there were a lot of changes last year and, quote unquote, the new FAFSA rolled out, there are a few things worth mentioning today. So a few new terms, contributor, and that refers to anybody. So anybody who has to put their information into a FAFSA. So the student is always their own contributor, and one or both of the student's parents. Now, when it comes to which parent or parents need to be included in the FAFSA, there is a helpful tool on FSA's website. It's called the Parent Wizard because it can change depending on family dynamics and how those parents filed their taxes. So if there's any question, you can go to the FSA website or you can reach out to us here in the financial aid office. Now, the other term is consent, and this refers to the tax information. Now, every contributor, so every student and every parent, has to provide their consent for the Department of Education to import tax information into the FAFSA form in order for the student to receive federal student aid. If the consent is missing or if a contributor declines consent, then that student is not going to be eligible for any federal student aid.
Awesome. Alrighty. So not too many changes, but just like you said, some new things that, maybe people should be aware of.
Mhm.
So our next question is what is the university's aid award timeline? And then are there any deadlines that we need to be aware of right now?
Yeah, so right now, from the moment a student submits their FAFSA, we ask for about 3 to 5 days, kind of as a minimum, for processing. And during that time, the Department of Education is gathering the information, processing it on their end, and getting it to us here at the U of M. At that point, we can see that a student has submitted their FAFSA and we can look at some information, but the aid packaging process hasn't begun. After that 3 to 5 day window of time, we do start packaging, and that can take anywhere from a couple of weeks, depending on if there are any corrections that the student needs to make or any other kind of documents that we need. Is generally a few weeks from the time a student submits their FAFSA until they can start seeing some aid information. But of course, there are some extenuating circumstances, which is why we ask students once they submit their FAFSA to check in with us, but also check their email often, just so they know what's going on and to see if they are in need of submitting any of those documents. Now, a
Awesome.
couple deadlines, not so much related to the FAFSA, but related to scholarships. So here at the U of M for incoming freshmen, we have a March 1st deadline for students to update their information with us, so GPA and test score, for scholarship eligibility. And then we have another deadline of February 1st, which is when our scholarship portal, Tiger Scholarship Manager, closes. So it's open now. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit later in this session, but I do want to mention those two right now.
Yeah, and speaking of the Tiger Scholarship Manager, so if you are a Parent and Family Association member, your student can actually apply for one of our PFA scholarships. So that is a scholarship
Nice.
that is only open to PFA members. So if you're watching today or if you're watching the recording later, if you're a PFA member, make sure that your student applies for that because you might as well, if you're a member, you have a really good chance of getting one, so you might as well do it. So alrighty, so that's all for that question. Our next one is back to the FAFSA specifically. So it says, what information is needed to actually complete the FAFSA?
So the first step in completing a FAFSA is to create your FSA ID. Now, every contributor needs their own FSA ID. So again, that is going to be the student and either one or both of their parents. And the information you need for that FSA ID is going to be every contributor's full name, their date of birth, social security number if it's applicable, an email address that is not associated with work or school, just in case those situations change, and they'll need to be able to access that email address for years to come, and a mailing address. Now, it's really important that when you set up your FSA ID, that this information matches your legal documents exactly. So have those in front of you. I know it might seem like you know this stuff off the top of your head, but if your mailing address, for instance, if you have road and it is spelled out on your your mailing address and you enter it as RD period, it could cause some issues in matching that information. So it's best to have those documents in front of you when you begin your FSA ID creation, and then have them with you again when you go to fill out your FAFSA, plus a few more documents. When you fill out the FAFSA, you're going to need your information about current checking, savings, and other assets. You're going to need some investment worth information. In this year, you're going to need your 2023 tax return information. So I know that's a lot, but you do want to have those in front of you just so you're making sure to get everything correct in your FAFSA form.
Exactly. And one thing you kind of touched on that I'll harp on again is making sure like if this is like your second time doing your FAFSA, make sure that you have written down your login because each year that was always the thing with me and my mom when I was a student. It was like, oh my gosh, what was our login? Like make sure you write that down the first time you're filling this FAFSA out because it'll be the same throughout your collegiate
Mhm.
year. So let's not create an argument the next year when you go to do it. Let's just write it down, put it in your notes in your phone, whatever that may look like for you, wherever you keep your passwords and stuff, because I promise it'll make it so much easier. So, speaking of, filling it out more than once, so do students need to complete a new FAFSA each semester?
So no, they don't, which might be a relief to some people. You only fill it out once every school year. And when you're filling it out for the next school year. So students who are in school right now for the 24-25 academic year are working on their 25-26 FAFSA form. And it's going to be important that you match, especially for our incoming freshmen, that they match their FAFSA form with their application year. So those freshmen entering fall 2025, they're looking for that 25-26 FAFSA form.
Cool, cool, cool.
Mhm.
All righty. Our next question is kind of straying away from the FAFSA for a second, but what types of financial aid can students receive at the U of M?
Yeah. So the first one I want to talk about are going to be grants. And I'm going to talk about these in terms of free money, earned money, and borrowed money. And if students can prioritize their aid in that order, they'll be in a great spot. So grants are monies that you have to be eligible for, but you do not have to pay them back. Most of these are going to be accessed through the FAFSA, so it's really important that every student fills out the FAFSA. The next type will be scholarships, and those are available at the state level, the institution level, and through outside organizations. Scholarshipamerica.org is a great website for students to find external scholarships. We have our own scholarships, both departmental and merit-based scholarships. And then, of course, the state of Tennessee has their Tennessee Hope Scholarship program as well. And we also have federal work study, which accounts for the earned money. Now, students do have to be eligible by way of their FAFSA for this, but it's a great opportunity for students to gain valuable work experience in general, but also in their field of study, and they make money doing so. And the last option that we have are student loans, and these can be in the student's name, but there are also loans that can be taken out in the parent's name, and those are called Parent Plus loans. So just to recap, we have grants, scholarships, federal work study, and loans.
Awesome. So lots and lots of different financial aid options. And
Mhm.
then you mentioned loans, which actually goes straight into our next question that someone submitted. So it said, what is the difference between a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan?
Yeah. So a subsidized loan is a need-based loan. And when we talk about need, that refers to financial need, which is calculated by a student's FAFSA and roughly correlated to their income. So a subsidized loan is available to students who are eligible, and it does not accrue interest while the student is in school. An unsubsidized loan is available to most students. It's not based on their need, but it does accrue interest while the student is in school.
Awesome. I know that's like a big question for a lot of people because, you just see which loans you're offered and then it's like, okay, I have
Mhm.
no idea what the difference is. So that's
And if a student is offered both, which happens often, we encourage them to accept the subsidized loan first because of the interest factor. If that's all they need and they can avoid collecting interest while they're in school, that's a great option. And I just want to remind all students that, loans can sound scary, but there's a lot of education out there. Your financial aid office can help you understand them a little bit better. You don't have to accept the entire loan that you're offered. You can actually just use a few $100s if that's what you need to cover your bill.
That's really good to know. I think that's something that people think about. Sorry, everybody. I'm Heather, and I've been having lots of technical difficulties, but I have made it. When you're talking about not having to accept a full loan, I think some people don't really know that. They see an amount and think that, oh, I have to take that full amount. And of course, some people may want to take the full amount,
Mhm.
but I think it's good to be wise with how much you take and just kind of take what you need and know that you have that option there. Thank you, Kay, for starting us off. You mentioned that parents can also take out a loan. You call it a plus loan.
Mhm.
So, as a parent, how would I apply for a plus loan? And how does it work with repayment and everything? Is the student on the hook or is it just the parents on the hook? How does that work?
Sure. So you're right. It's called a Parent Plus loan, and we'll call it a plus loan for short. And the steps are for the student and their contributors to file a FAFSA. That's the first step. The plus loan has its own application in which the parent will fill out. A plus loan is in the parent's name only, and it's the responsibility of the parent to repay that loan. Because it's in the parent's name, it is also based on their credit and income information. It is not connected to the student in any way. And like our unsubsidized loans, this loan also accrues interest while the student is in school.
perfect. Alrighty. Sorry, I could not get my mic unmuted for a second there. So this next question says, my student received a request for a verification. What is this? And then what should we submit?
Sure. So verification refers to the Department of Education's kind of checks and balances. It's a random process. So if you are selected for verification, it does not mean you've done anything wrong or filled out your FAFSA incorrectly. You're just one of the lucky ones chosen to prove that what you put in your FAFSA is accurate. So the documents that you'll need to submit are going to be unique, and we will send you an email notification to check your My Memphis portal. Those documents will be listed in a student's My Memphis portal and can be submitted online. And just one note, and I'll say this a few times throughout our time today, verification is one of those things that if it's not taken care of and the documents are not submitted, it can hold up the packaging process. So some students will not check their email and they won't realize that they've been selected for verification and they've been waiting for aid information and it's not coming. Well, this could be a reason why, is that we don't have all the information we need to complete the aid packaging process. So that's why email is very, very important.
Yeah, we preach that a lot with current students and prospective students. Make sure you check your email. Just a quick question before I go on to the next question. Emily, when you all email, you are only emailing the student, right? So it's not a parent that's going to get that email. It's going to be the student. So parents, if you're working with your student for financial aid, make sure that you're asking your student, have you checked your email? Have you received anything? And you all kind of collaborate together on making sure that they're checking and that keeping you in the loop about what they're receiving so that nothing is missed and you won't be sitting, like Emily said, and waiting because you haven't done something because you haven't read the email. So read your email,
Absolutely right.
students. um, so the next question, you mentioned something when students take out loans, not to be afraid of what they see and know that there's a lot of education out there. So that kind of brings us to asking about entrance counseling. When students take out loans, they have to do an entrance counseling process. What is that like, and how does a student go about completing an entrance counseling session?
Sure. So there are actually two requirements for first-time borrowers. One is this loan entrance counseling. It's accessed through studentaid.gov, and it's an online, pretty short module. You'll watch some videos, you'll click through a few slides, and it's just educating the student and the parent about what a loan is, the terms of their loan, how payments work when they enter the repayment process, when they enter the repayment process. And so it's really helpful, but it's also a requirement. So if a student accepts a loan that they've been offered, but they haven't completed entrance counseling, the loan's not going to pay out. Similarly, there is also a master promissory note, which is also available online at studentaid.gov, and it's for first-time borrowers as well. And all it is an acknowledgement that they borrowed the loans and that they promised to pay them back one day. So those two things kind of go hand in hand for first-time borrowers. Both are online, pretty quick to complete, and they are required.
Awesome. Good to know. So our next question says, what if our financial situation changes after we've already submitted this year's FAFSA?
So we hear this, I would say fairly frequently in the financial aid office. We know that sometimes your FAFSA information doesn't capture your most current financial situation accurately. So if that's the case, we just encourage families to reach out to our office to see what their options are. Most of the time it's going to be on a case by case, one-on-one conversation just to talk about how to proceed. But there's definitely some hope and some help available.
And that's really good to know. So definitely don't hesitate and be afraid to reach out to the financial aid office. They have very helpful and kind counselors that are wanting you to succeed and have what you need to fund your education. So please take advantage of that resource. So we have a parent whose student is about to graduate this month and they have student loans. They're wanting to know, okay, now that my student's about to graduate, what's going to happen next? What can they expect?
Mhm.
When are they going to have to pay those loans back? That's the looming question there. So if you can kind of talk us through what a student could expect once they graduate.
Sure. So when a student graduates or when a student drops below half-time enrollment, they enter a grace period. And that grace period lasts for 6 months. For a recent graduate, the idea is that they graduate, have time to find a job, and then at the 6-month mark, they are ready to repay those loans. And that's, how it works. If a student re-enters school, let's say they graduated with their bachelor's, they enter their grace period, but then they enroll in a master's program, they can defer their payment until they finish that second degree. So while they're in school, they don't have to make payments by way of deferment. But if they are not going back to school, or if they plan to have a few years between their bachelor's and their master's, then they will enter that grace period for 6 months, and then they will enter their repayment stage, which their payment for student loans will be due. And during that time, they will get communication from their lender about their repayment terms, how much they'll owe, and for how many years they'll be paying.
Perfect. Alrighty. So definitely be on the lookout, especially once you know those 6 months are kind of up, be checking that email, get ready to start paying. So,
Yep.
we kind of we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but if you could just elaborate a little bit more on it. So this parent wanted to know what specifically is the Tiger Scholarship Manager?
Yes. So the Tiger Scholarship Manager is the U of M's online scholarship portal. Now, this is available to all admitted students. So students who are admitted as incoming first-time freshmen and current students. It opens every year between the middle of November, which means it is open now, and closes for the most part on February 1st. Now, the purpose of this portal is that it houses about 700 plus departmental and private scholarships. So these are different from our merit-based scholarships awarded to first-time freshmen. And in this portal, we have scholarships written for all different majors, all different colleges, and different classifications. So freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, and grad students. So we encourage everybody to check it out. You can stack the scholarships in this portal, meaning you can be awarded multiple and they can go towards your tuition. Some of these are going to be renewable for several semesters. Others are going to be one-time scholarships. So students will just need to read the descriptions in those different scholarships carefully.
That's really good to know, especially you mentioned that there are some scholarships available for graduate students. So if you continue beyond your bachelor's degree, parents encourage your students, if they're going to grad school, to consider looking for those scholarships in Tiger Scholarship Manager. As far
Mhm.
as one time, the Parent and Family Association scholarship that Kate mentioned is a one-time scholarship. So that's something that
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you're aware of. Is it a recurring scholarship or is it a one-time scholarship? And speaking of, I guess I can kind of combine these, and I apologize if you answered this already earlier in the session, but the deadline to apply for scholarships, and then if a person gets a scholarship and it's renewable or it lasts for more than just a one time, I'll say,
Mhm.
do they have to reapply every year to keep that scholarship going, or does it automatically keep going? So kind of two in one.
Yeah, I'm going to throw all the scholarship information at you. So the U of M has two types of scholarships. We've already talked about one a little bit, which is the departmental and private scholarships through Tiger Scholarship Manager. Now, those do have a deadline of February 1st. They are stackable. And again, these are going to be pertaining to different majors, different colleges, things like that. So that's one set of scholarships. And they will specify if they are renewable or if they're one time in their description. Now, the other type of scholarship that we offer is a merit-based scholarship, and this is awarded to first-time incoming freshmen. And these are based on GPA always, but we have some that are GPA and test score, and some that are just GPA. Now, these merit-based scholarships are renewable for 8 semesters, so 4 years, as long as the student remains eligible. And to remain eligible, they need to maintain good academic standing, which is a 2.0 GPA or higher. They need to complete required service hours if their scholarship comes with required service hours, and that information can be found in their My Memphis portal. And they need to be enrolled in 12 credit hours each semester. So if they can do those 3 things, then they will have their merit-based scholarship renewed for those 8 semesters. I think that is everything I wanted to. We do have one deadline for those merit-based scholarships. So this will apply to our current high school seniors. March 1st is the deadline to update your academic information with us. So if you have an updated GPA that we don't have on file, go ahead and get it to us before March 1st. If you are planning to retake the ACT or SAT, make sure you get us those new test scores by March 1st. And doing so will maximize your scholarship eligibility.
Awesome. So lots of, a few little dates and deadlines to be sure that you're aware of, and lots of good information. So we did kind of touch on this once again a little bit earlier, but if you could elaborate, so what is the federal work study, and then how would it be applied to a student's tuition account?
Sure. So Federal Work Study is a program that students qualify for by the information in their FAFSA. So it's need-based. So again, we're looking at income, tax information to determine eligibility. If a student is awarded Federal Work Study, it'll be included in their financial aid package along with their student loan eligibility, any merit-based scholarships that they've been offered, any state aid. It'll be one of those line items as well. Now, Federal Work Study is available to the student. It really looks the same as a regular student worker job. They are still going to search for a job on campus and apply, submit their resume, have an interview, and hopefully get hired for that job. Now, one misconception about Federal Work Study is that the money earned actually goes straight into the student's bank account. It does not get applied to the student's tuition or their e-bill directly. So I can't emphasize this part enough, is that to the student, a Federal Work Study job looks the same as a regular job on or off campus.
That's definitely important to know, so you can know as you plan with your student, as far as parents planning financially, you won't factor in that amount that you see, because that amount will have to be earned over time in a form of a paycheck.
That's right. And you'll see on your financial aid letter, you'll see the maximum amount that a student can earn over an academic year. But the key is that the student has to earn that money. So they are not automatically entitled to that. They still have to show up to work and get that paycheck. And then once they've hit that award amount, then they are done working for that semester. But again, that money is not directly put into their e-bill, does not go towards their bottom line. It goes directly into a checking account.
That's great to know, and that kind of leads to the next couple of questions. So, a parent had a student who was awarded work study, but they, I guess they applied and they could not land a campus job. So, in that case, can the student change out the award if that money's just sitting there? Can they receive more Pell Grant? How is that award adjusted if the student is unable to locate and land a job?
Yeah, so unfortunately with the Pell Grant, we're not able to make any adjustments based on their Federal Work Study job. The Pell Grant is calculated based on information from their FAFSA, and so it is paid out accordingly. So what the student is eligible for is what they receive from the Pell. Now, if a student is awarded, say, $5,000 in federal work study for the full academic year, if they don't find a job in the fall semester, then those funds will still be able to count for the spring. So typically, you would take that $5,000, divide it by 2 semesters. So that student could earn $2,500 in the fall and $2,500 in the spring. Well, if they don't have a job in the fall, that money is just going to kind of roll over and be available in the spring semester. But we do have a really useful tool. We use Handshake to post student worker jobs. So students can hop on there and search by department, by schedule, availability, things like that, to find an on-campus job. Or you can just walk into any office and see if they're hiring. You know, that one-on-one personal connection doesn't hurt either.
That's definitely true. Sorry, but I think I just kind of jumped in there because it reminds me of the next question that we have. It kind of is the opposite spectrum where a student has a work study job, but maybe they didn't find one in the fall, but they had an opportunity in the spring. But then there's this notion of, should I work 2 work study jobs if they have that extra time? How does that work? Can a student work more than 1 work study job if they have the time and the funds?
So unfortunately, no, they can only hold one job at a time.
Okay.
And specifically, if they have a federal work study job, they cannot have a regular student job. That comes up sometimes. They can't get paid federal work study and then apply for a regular student job or graduate assistant job. So pretty much just stick with one job at a time.
No double dipping. Maybe if that's your student's case where they have a lot of that free time, then we can redirect them and encourage them to maybe join some organizations or volunteer or things like that. There's some other ways they can uh, productively utilize that free time. May not mean money in the pocket, but there are other benefits that they'll get, I think. Okay, but
Absolutely.
that brings us to the end of our list of questions that parents have submitted. I guess we can spend a couple of moments if you have just a few reminders to families as they embark in either renewing their FAFSA or starting a new FAFSA. Any reminders and final thoughts you want to leave with the families?
Sure. The FAFSA for the 2025-2026 school year is open now. So if you have a student that is enrolling next school year, go ahead and start working on it now. You don't want to wait until the last moment. Check your email. This is a busy time of year and there are a lot of deadlines that come up quickly. Senior year is crazy, but also for our current students with finals and the winter break coming up. You don't want to miss anything, any emails from us or your professors or anybody. So check your email. If you're an incoming student, start your FAFSA. And if you have any questions at all, please reach out to our offices, either the Office of Student Financial Aid or the Office of Scholarships. We're happy to answer any questions you have, big or little. That is what we are here for.
That's awesome. I noticed I don't know if it was addressed, but we do have a question in the Q&A about the scholarship portal, the Tiger Scholarship Manager. They wanted to know, are the lists that are found in the manager scrubbed yearly or, more often than each year, just to ensure that the scholarships get awarded? Or do you have instances where the scholarship is kind of sitting out there and hasn't been updated or hasn't been awarded?
Yeah.
Um,
So we do, well, I would say scholarships in general,
mhm.
especially when they are under a specific department or college, are awarded throughout the school year. So sometimes they are awarded shortly after the scholarship has closed. And sometimes you'll see that award a few months after. If there is any information in the scholarship, like specific department information, you're certainly welcome to reach out to us, and we can do some communication, or you can reach out to that department specifically. But scholarships are awarded year round. So check your email and keep applying. They are very competitive. So if you weren't awarded one this cycle, you might have to keep applying and be awarded next year.
Very good advice. And thank you for your question. If anybody else has any questions over the next few seconds, then feel free to put that in the Q&A. We'll be happy to address those. But I want to thank Emily for taking the time to be with us and to educate all of us, all the families on the new FAFSA, financial aid, things that you should know, scholarships, things that are going to help your student fund their education and hopefully help the process become less stressful for you and your family and enjoyable as you embark on the transition, if you're a prospective family, on the transition of your student to being a college student, and then if you're a current family, as you continue with your student in their educational journey. So we appreciate you, Emily. We appreciate you and your staff and team and Lofton and everyone who works tirelessly to make sure students are receiving the aid that they need and that they can fund their education and earn that degree that they're seeking. So thank you so much. Thank you for everyone attending. If you're watching this later, we appreciate you and hope that you find these Tiger Talks supportive and helpful. Feel free to reach out to parents at memphis.edu. You can call us at 901-678-2115, or you can text us at that number if you have any questions about any information that you've learned about in this session or any of our Tiger Talks. We'll be glad to connect you with Emily and her team to help answer those questions that you may have. Again, thank you for attending our Tiger Talk. We're going to have a whole new set of Tiger Talks for you in the spring semester. If you got any ideas or suggestions for topics, please email us with those because we're getting ready to start planning our spring 2025 Tiger Talks. If you would like to connect with our office by joining the Parent and Family Association or purchasing a care package bundle for the spring or a yard sign for this December graduation, please give us a call or email us. We would love for you to support your student in that way. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next Tiger Talk.